China's 10 biggest companies are all government-owned. Here are snapshots of China's 12 biggest companies, all of which rank among the world's 75 biggest companies by revenue, and all of which are state-owned. 1. Sinopec Group. 2014 revenue. $446.8 billion. Sinopec remains Asia's largest oil refiner and a king in China's state-owned corporate hierarchy. However, following a 30% decline in profits in 2014 amid lower oil prices, failed overseas investments, and a corruption crackdown that has targeted the company's senior officials, Sinopec no longer looks invincible. Last year marked Sinopec's worst year of financial performance since the financial crisis, and executives have remained out of the limelight amid the corruption crackdown, which has diminished the influence of oil companies in the country. 2. China National Petroleum. 2014 revenue. $428.6 billion. Known as the parent company of PetroChina, China's biggest oil producer was hurt by lower oil prices throughout the year. Profits fell by 17%. Like its state-owned rival Sinopec, CNPC was also the focus of an intense anti-corruption campaign. In fact, CNPC has been one of the campaign's prime targets over the past 2 years. Zhu Yangkang, former CNPC chairman, was jailed for life this year on graft charges. His case highlighted Beijing's efforts to break the power clique at CNPC. During the year, CNPC's strong refining and distribution businesses helped mitigate losses from oil price declines. 3. State Grid. Global 500 rank. 7. 2014 revenue. $339.4 billion. Last year, the world's largest utility announced $65 billion in annual spending for the next 5 years to upgrade its network to handle China's massive alternative energy supply. State Grid already operates the world's largest solar farm, but transporting that supply across the country is its next challenge as it plans to reduce the percentage of coal used to produce electricity. The state-owned enterprise is also building ultra-high voltage power lines across the country to transport wind and solar-produced energy from the western desert areas to population centers in China's central and eastern provinces. 4. Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. Global 500 rank. 18. 2014 revenue. $163.2 billion. The state-owned firm is the world's biggest bank, a major force in China's market, and according to a ranking by The Banker magazine, the world's strongest bank based on its amount of capital in 2014. 4 big state-owned banks are central to China's financial system. ITIC is the biggest among them. It has raised money for the Three Gorges Dam project and has been a part of China's expansion abroad, especially its infrastructure projects in Africa. At the same time, ITIC's international exposure remains low compared to US and European banks. For a sense of its scale, in 2014 IP earned almost $60 billion, nearly double the profits of Wells Fargo. 5. China Construction Bank. Global 500 rank. 29. 2014 revenue. $139.9 billion. China's second-largest state-owned bank is grappling with a slowing Chinese economy, like the rest of the country's largest lenders. The government's recent interest rate cuts have hurt margins, and the overall economic slowdown is making observers nervous about the potential of China Construction Bank's over the next few years. In the fourth quarter, it reported its first quarterly profit decline since the financial crisis of 2009. Its fortunes remain tied to China because of its founding as a state-controlled lender. But it is slowly expanding outside the country as China's government expands its interests abroad. 6. Agricultural Bank of China. Global 500 rank. 36. 2014 revenue. $130 billion. The third biggest by revenue of the 4 state-owned banks that anchor China's financial system. Agricultural Bank of China, also known as ABC or Agbank, originally specialized in financing commercial and industrial enterprises in rural China. But more recently, it has diversified into consumer and corporate banking, credit cards, and currency trading. The bank's branch network, the biggest in China, according to research firm Morningstar, has made it the dominant bank in rural areas, and many analysts expect ABC to benefit as more of its rural customers move to urban areas and become more affluent. The bank saw a change of leadership in October 2014 as Liu Xiu, a former official at the People's Bank of China, became chairman. 7. China State Construction Engineering. Global 500 rank. 37. 2014 revenue. $129.9 billion. CSEC, a state-owned construction and real estate conglomerate, opened its first foreign office in the 1970s in Kuwait and has had a presence in the U.S. since the mid-1980s. It has doubled down on foreign projects in this decade, and its revenue has risen accordingly, growing more than 17% in 2014. The American Enterprise Institute estimates that the company is currently involved in more than 70 overseas construction projects valued at $100 million or more. The company now encompasses multiple construction and investment subsidiaries in fields ranging from public infrastructure to residential real estate. Its high-profile current projects include a major role in the Beijing's push to expand China's affordable housing stock. That project also highlights the company's greatest uncertainty: whether a slowing economy in China will hurt the state's appetite for big public building projects. 8. Bank of China. Global 500 rank. 45. 2014 revenue. $129 billion. Bank of China, or BOC, is among China's big four state-owned banks, although it shouldn't be confused with the People's Bank of China, China's central bank. The bank's history predates communist rule in China, and it has appeared on the Global 500 more often than any of the other Big Four 21 years. Not coincidentally, BOC has a strong cross-border banking business, and international banking helped sustain its profits in 2014. Its year-over-year growth in profits and revenue outpaced its rivals, and it was the only state-owned bank that didn't see its profits fall in the fourth quarter. China's softening economy is a concern for all the country's big banks. But BOC may be well positioned to weather the slowdown, thanks in part to its diversification. More than a quarter of its loans involve lending outside China, and it derives a lot of income from businesses that are less sensitive to the economy's ups and downs, including investment banking and insurance. 9. China Mobile Communications. Global 500 rank. 55. 2014 revenue. $175 billion. China Mobile is the biggest wireless phone provider in the world, with more than 800 million customers and a 60% share of its home nation's telecom market. The last 2 years have been particularly good to China Mobile, thanks in part to two largely unrelated tech trends. The company's 4G network, seen as a big improvement over its 3G network, helped it sign up a new wave of customers. And a wider migration from Android devices to the iPhone among Chinese customers also benefited China Mobile, which is Apple's main service provider partner in China. The company can't afford to rest on its laurels, however. China's cell phone market is maturing as the country nears 100% penetration, and some investors have criticized China Mobile for not doing more to curb operating costs. Government officials have also faulted the country's cell providers for not offering faster data speeds, and many analysts believe that the state could either break up China Mobile or divert some of its resources to two smaller state-owned telecoms in the name of improving service. 10. SAIC Motor. Global 500 rank. 60. 2014 revenue. $122 billion. SAIC isn't a household name to most American consumers, but it is the biggest auto manufacturer in China. The company has partnerships with several Western brands, including General Motors and Volkswagen.